Welcome to TechLink, where we deliver you a dose of tech news in 30 minutes or less, or your money back. You don't actually directly pay for the news, but still. AMD has walked back some of its Ryzen 9000 performance claims after the new processors fell short in review benchmarks. In a blog post, the company explained some of the reasons why their numbers were better than basically every reviewer ever. A massive factor was AMD running all their testing in admin mode, which turns out is a big security yikers. According to Hardware Unboxed, what AMD is referring to is enabling the hidden system administrator account in Windows 11, something that requires command prompt to do. This isn't the same as a standard account with administrator permissions, mind you. This account runs with full administrative privileges by default and won't ask you if you're sure before you do something very stupid.
I'm gonna click on that link. Download that movie? Yes, please.
Would you like to have kids? Even worse, if your system gets compromised, malware or bad actors, and we're not talking Ezra Miller, can use those privileges too. If that wasn't enough, Wendell from Level 1 Tech suggests that running processes within that account means you're essentially running those processes with Windows virtualization-based security disabled. While that would give you better performance, turns out your computer is less secure when you don't use features that contain the word security in the name. AMD claims that some of the missing Ryzen 9000 performance will be added to standard accounts in a future Windows 11 update, but that means nothing to Windows 10 users, aka most Windows users. iFixit has declared the Samsung Galaxy Ring unrepairable after a product teardown, and it wasn't unrepairable just because they did a really good job at tearing it down. No, iFixit made the claim because you aren't able to replace the Ring's lithium-ion battery without destroying it. That means that each Galaxy Ring basically has to be thrown out and replaced every 2 years when the battery dies. So it's less one ring to rule them all, and more one ring of many to end up in a landfill. Unfortunately, 100% disposable status is shared with every other smart ring and Samsung's Galaxy Buds 3 for the same reason. To make matters worse, this comes just days after Google confirmed that the Pixel Watch 3 also can't be repaired, just like the previous 2 Pixel Watch models. And all this falls within a larger trend of companies restricting the reuse of their products. Previously free features that came with the purchase of a $1,700 SNU bassinet, we all have one, have now been locked behind a monthly subscription. I imagine this will make it harder to resell your SNU once your newborn outgrows it in 4 to 5 months. On top of that, Peloton announced they will start charging new subscribers in the US and Canada a $95 activation fee if those users bought their hardware secondhand. What do they do if you buy it third hand? Beat the shit out of you? The US Department of Justice has announced they are suing RealPage, the company whose software is used by landlords to set rent prices. In a press release, the Justice Department claims their software encourages competing landlords to share sensitive rental information to help train RealPage's algorithm to suggest better and higher rent prices. Oh man, now AI is taking jobs away from hardworking price fixers. The government agency first opened an investigation into RealPage's alleged anti-competitive practices back in 2022, after an investigative report was published by nonprofit newsroom ProPublica. Things don't necessarily look good for RealPage, since at least 2 property management companies who used RealPage's software have agreed to settle several lawsuits filed against them by renters. Frankly, I think all this legal trouble serves RealPage right. AI isn't meant for making the cost of living higher, it's meant for bigger things, like scamming your grandparents and taking all our jobs. But until that happens, it's our job to tell you that Scrapyard Wars Episode 4, the final episode, is coming out tomorrow on Floatplane and Tuesday on YouTube, and it's brought to you by the sponsor of today's video on this channel, Jawa. Jawa is the marketplace for buying and selling gaming gear. They have PC components, peripherals, and even fully pre-built rigs. Check out their Scrapyard Wars giveaway, where there will be exclusive prizes that were used in the videos. If you want to watch episode 4 early and get access to exclusive behind-the-scenes content, subscribe to Floatplane. Again, it'll be on there tomorrow. Both links are in the description of this video. Friendships may come and go, but quick bits, well, they end even faster. AMD's upcoming Ryzen 9000 X3D chips may be coming out early next year, according to several sources. Reliable leaker HXL suggested that they may be coming at CES 2025, which is happening in January. This was then corroborated by both fellow leaker Juan Usmus and Hassan from WCCF Tech. This may also explain reports that AMD's new budget B-series motherboards are supposedly launching around the same time. If there's one thing gamers love, it's 3D V-cache. But if there's 2 things The other one is a budget-friendly upgrade path for that 3D V-Cache. Apple has decided to split its App Store team into two, King Solomon style, with one half to handle the EU-specific version of the App Store, also known as the We're Not Run by Billionaires store. However, at least one notable person will not be present to deal with this particular bisected baby. App Store Vice President Matt Fisher, who has led the division since 2010, will be leaving the company, possibly due to concerns that he too will be sliced in half if he remains. Of course, it would be much simpler for Apple to simply make one app store for the entire world that complied with EU regulations. But that would mean less money for Apple, and they're not ready to throw either half of the baby out with the bathwater. Microsoft may finally be killing off the Windows control panel. Hey, don't get mad at me. This Tuesday, a support document was updated to announce that Control Panel is in the process of being deprecated in favor of the Settings app. Though, on the other hand, Windows has been promising to retire Control Panel for years. The company has slowly been moving more tools to the Settings app for over a decade. Yet in that time, Control Panel has been kept around. It's like that one friend in the squad who you don't really talk to, but you keep him around because he makes incredible snickerdoodles. You rock, Dave, and so do your snickerdoodles. A Kentucky hacker who faked his own death to avoid $116,000 in child support has been sentenced to nearly 7 years in prison, as well as $80,000 in damages. Jesse Kipf was guilty of more than being a bad dad, of course. In addition to hacking and altering state death registries in Arizona, Hawaii, and Vermont, he was found guilty of both fraud and identity theft.
Why couldn't he just keep it hurting his kids?
Kipf likewise used the dark web to sell stolen personal data and elicit access to private businesses' networks, and you think with that many side hustles he could find some spare cash to send his daughter. And Lindy AI was forced to patch their automatic responder after the bot pranked its clients. According to CEO Flo Crivallo, he first noticed the issue when the AI responded to a client's help request by sending them a link to a video tutorial that didn't exist. The bot, which was presumably trained on publicly available internet data, instead linked Rick Astley's seminal 1987 hit, Never Gonna Give You Up. It's possible these kinds of pranks are so deeply embedded in the training data that bots will be asking each other if they smell updog long after humanity's extinction. You know what I smell? More tech news being cooked up, so come back for another episode on Monday. A second helping, if you will. A second coming?